Hey guys, I'm back with part 7 of this parallel connection, talking about it. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna read, the next couple of pages that I have, and see how far we get in this. I'm gonna start back on page. It says 68, minus that would be 67 technically. Yeah, technically, by the math of how far I'm into this, it would be page 67. And I gotta change the numbers on it, like I said, but. Let's get to it. I know I've really honestly read this page more or less. So honestly, I'm only going to read the last couple of sentences and then start on the new page. Okay. So bear with me. Let's go. So, being threatened by Alpha and Beta, I do know that in November and going into December that my leg, just a couple of inches above the kneecap, had a pain of some type that came into it and felt like I had been cut or stabbed. I didn't know why this pain had shown up, and it lasted for a while. I went and reviewed where we were in the timeline, and I realized that Daryl had gotten stabbed in the leg in that spot as he was fighting Alpha beside a river creek. So that showed me that this parallel connection paralleled the pain that Daryl was having, or at least partial of it, some pieces of it, from it to me. Right before the pain started, I know that I had a missing assignment in a class and had failed some tests and others. That's because even though Daryl did injure Alpha and wound her, but she also hurt Daryl and messed him up just as much as he messed her up somewhat. I know that I had a headache, during that time too, and that paralleled when Alpha hit Daryl in the face with a rock. I think it was a rock, yeah, that I remember correctly. He made it to where he struggled to see for a moment. For me, my eyes were watering and the headache was bad and my leg felt hurt bad. I don't know. It felt like I had worse than a pulled muscle. But here's the thing: I hadn't hurt my leg or really anything. I hadn't fell. I really don't know how to explain that other than this. I really don't, because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, there's nothing that I did to my leg to make that happen. Unintentionally, intentionally, and no, nothing. And this is the only way I can explain it, really. But anyway, made it, to where he struggled to see for a moment. For me, my eyes were watering and headache was bad and my leg felt hurt bad. This all ran parallel to what happened to Daryl, basically. The next big event was when I had to go to my math class to take the semester exam. And there was a lot of us who had to take it. My leg was still bothering me, but not much as it was before. This parallel is with the fight that Hilltop went into with the Whispers. So when the Whispers burnt Hilltop to the ground, except for the main building and parts of the wall, Daryl's leg was still hurt a little, but it was healing more or less. I made it out of that test with a 65, which is a D. Okay, I barely passed it, just like Daryl barely made it out. Barely made it out of that place when it was going down like that. He fought to get out. I know, really, they all did, and a lot of them barely made it out. Some of them didn't at all. I was more excited after Christmas to return to school because I got to the word that she was coming back after Christmas break, though, which when we got back and I was walking through the hallway towards second period, I saw her pass by me, and I was highly excited about her being back. Other than I wasn't supposed to talk to her and she wasn't supposed to talk to me. However, anytime I saw her in that hallway, I couldn't help but look at her and see her face. I wanted to talk to her so bad, so bad. I wanted to wanted to be, gosh, she was so tempting, so just desire to, be around her, talk to her. Gosh. But anyway, I knew that it would cause a lot of trouble if I did. It would have caused legal trouble for me. One thing I became worried about, though, was her getting into relationships with other guys, other people. That was a big fear and worry I had, because I knew if she did that, they would end up wanting to fight me, and I was also afraid of her getting into intimate things. There was a day in class that one of her close friends told me that there was someone who she liked, and that this thing with me needed to stop. When she told me that, my heart stopped for a second, and I got very scared. I did not know who it was they were talking about, but I wanted to find out. Though I never really got any answers, there was a day in February when I was sitting in lunch at a table with a couple of guys, 3, 4, 5 guys on one of the guys, when they said to me, "You know that she is dating someone, right?" I did not believe them at first. I didn't want to buy, but as they kept saying it, I got more and more worried, scared, and my anxiety was rising. I asked them who, and they said the name, and I instantly, knew who they were talking about immediately. I knew 2 people named really that name, but I didn't know if it was either one. I asked for his last name. They said it, his last name. I knew exactly who that was, period. I wasn't for sure really when the first name, when the last name was. Yeah, actually I was. Yeah. Knew exactly who it was and all, but anyway. I'm still timed here. I'm not trying to go this video go past 39 minutes, so yeah, that's what the situation is. I got so worried about that point, and at that point, anxious. They told me that they saw them together in the theater in another city near us, and they said that they were cuddling up together, sitting down, watching whatever it was, whatever the movie was at the time. I went home that day depressed, and I felt so disconnected from her. That night I went on Facebook and I looked for this guy, his profile, if he was on there. I assumed he was on there. I was assuming he was there, and it didn't take long when I found it. What I immediately saw next made my heart feel pulled completely apart. His profile pic was of him and her sitting together in the theater seat, just like they described. I didn't know what to do. I started sobbing, and I then decided to add him on there and talk to him. He added me back. I greeted myself. He did the same. I just started talking to him genuinely and casually. He did the same, and I was starting to realize that he didn't sound like he knew that I had feelings for her, that I loved her, though, all that he would have. He didn't sound like he had beef with me because of that. I didn't know if she had already told him about what had happened in October and to that point or not. It didn't take long in the conversation, though, when she got brought up, and I told him exactly how I felt about her and him being with her. He told me that he didn't care, how I felt about it, that she loved him way more than me, but I didn't take that but 1 grain of salt at a time, if that makes sense. I just tried to, I tried not to let it get to my, you know what I mean. If you understand my meaning of it. Then he then started telling me and calling me a stalker and a creep, telling me how much I was of it. I rejected those labels because I saw what I was doing as good because I care about her so much I would give my own life for her. Some would call that crazy on my part, and this guy claimed to be Christian and all that, but he is here judging somebody he has no right to. He was being hypocritical, and there's been many instances of that in my experience, but that was one of them, put it that way. I would give my own life for her, so some would call that crazy or, on my part, but I feel completely otherwise about that. He told me before he blocked me the next morning, he said, "Look, she is mine." Those words did hurt, but I did not accept it. I went to school feeling bad and left out. I only figured out that I would have to wait until they broke up. People who knew both me and her tried to convince me to let go of her, but I have held strong with it. I knew how the main series ended, so I knew how the parallel timeline would end. It ended with Michonne looking for Rick and Rick trying to escape his captivity and trying to get back home, so I knew that somehow, some way, this connection had to bring me and her together again. And at one point, and I just had to wait for it. The second half of 10th grade, season 10, went hard and smooth at the same time, technically. In February, the Whispers arc proportion ended and the next arc started, started up. I knew at that same time that Daryl and Beta fought in episode 16, one-on-one for the final time, that Daryl jumped up and he impaled both of his knives in Beta's eyes, which paralleled to me getting 90% and all A's on my assignments through that entire week, bro. That was, I felt like I was getting power again, in a way, gaining power again. Matter of fact, the air felt less heavy, though my grade level, through my grade level, basically, just as much as everything felt like it was returning to normal. In the show, the question was, for how long, though? I went back on my movie app and reviewed the second half of season 10, a little over, the second half, to be prepared for what was, supposed to happen. I knew that the Reaper arc was going to start up in episode 17-18 timeline, and I already knew what happened to Daryl when he gets captured by the Reapers. When season 10 was coming to a conclusion, I was taking a breath. Yeah, just a big breath, because I knew what was about to come back, basically. And becoming, take a breath and becoming excited to, back. I was aware that that these, things that the school issues that wants to issue to keep students from interacting, talking to each other, any form of contact period that had been put up were going to be brought down because they supposedly they cannot run outside of school or during the summer. I saw it as a chance to start over and hopefully change the vibe that her had, she had of me, that she had on me, how she felt and all that. I didn't do that though. One other thing I was looking forward to, though, was that next year was going to be 11th grade, season 11, the final season of the main series. I spent a lot of time during the summer at the recreational facility we have in our county, in our town. I did see her there some, out of the 3 weeks I went. She kept her distance from me. I got the word in late June that she that she had gotten a new relationship, right? I immediately had so many questions, but literally limited answers. I learned that it was a dude. I'm not gonna name names. Again, I'm not gonna name names. I looked him up on Facebook again, found his profile, and I noticed quickly that he did wrestling and football. So that gave me a clue on what type of guy he was. They had been together for 2 weeks. When I got the news, I started feeling the same way again that I did when her and him, the other guy, got together. The guy who told me was one of the guys who sat at the lunch table with the other boys. He told me how they were swimming together in the water, and that she was sitting on top of him in that pool, and that whatever they were doing in that water, she seemed as if she liked it. And he said, oh gosh, my mind went straight into fearing, implicit stuff. My heart was ripping itself out of my chest at that point. I was fearing the complete worst. Wasn't long after when I added him on Facebook and he added me back. I went on there and greeted him, and he did the same. I just started with the general questions. He then immediately brought up her and asked me about her. I answered him on a little of it. I told him how I felt about dating her, and again I don't care how you feel. Again, I again heard that, he said, look bro, she's mine. I explained to him, but still kept, discreet on why I won't let go of her. And really, y'all got pretty much nearly the entire answer at this point on here. There's a little bit more to explain, but I will get to that in a moment. I did not want him to know anything about, the oath I made or this connection, because I knew he wouldn't understand it or believe it, regardless of the facts and evidence that I had then. Even more now, and when I wrote this was still the last year, like last school year, the end of the, well, not the end of the year. Well, yeah, it was actually. Yeah, looking at this date it was, or at least it was the other half of the year. He told me that she said to him that she had a restraining order on me, but I didn't know whether she was confusing the little school order thing that isn't a legal situation as a restraining order, or she was saying that to make me sound like a bad person. I didn't know. I don't know still. I don't know, because if there's no restraining order between me and her. If there was a restraining order, then I would have been served papers, and they would have told me to come to court with it, and the judge would have, talked to me about it, told me my rights and my, not rights and all that. I would have went to court for it, and all that never happened. Okay, so I'm not sure why she's said that. I don't really know. My guess is as good as somebody who just knows my side of the story, I guess, right? Or just doesn't know much about it. I don't know. But yeah, that's apparently the case. But she is thinking, or make the situation sound worse for drama. I didn't know, but I had the feeling it was the second answer, because just a week after she and that one guy stopped dating, I was walking down the hall headed to my 7th period class, and as I was heading into the math hallway, she happened to be in front of me, and 5 other students. One of them was a guy that who I had in my English class with, and he was talking to her, and he said, that my name likes you, right? She turned around as she was walking and said, yeah, I know, we're about to get a restraining order on him. she saw me walking behind him in her view, and she said it like she was talking toward me, because I'm pretty sure that she looked directly at me for a moment, as if she was giving a warning or something out. I'm not positive, but I don't want to talk bad about her and don't want to make her feel bad. And I get mad when I hear other people talk about her. I have to say that if anyone tried to hurt her and I'm around and I don't know what I would, I would take up for her, obviously. What else could I do? Because that's my person that I vouch for. But I would, it would be I don't know. That's how much I love her, though. If I hear anyone saying anything negative about her, I cannot help but to speak up and stop them. Do what I can. I cannot stand to hear someone talk bad about her. It hurts me to listen back to the summer, though the chat between me and this guy stopped, and to my actual surprise, he didn't block me. I didn't know why, but I knew that he could at any time. There was around 4 weeks of silence with everything until one day, just a day before, or abbreviated day for 11th grade. I was at the recreation department in the gym shooting hoops, playing basketball a little bit by myself. I got a text from this guy, and it was threatening. I texted him and I asked him why. I said, why he all of a sudden he got so mad because I had not said a word to him since that chat we had that night. He was threatening to beat me up and stuff because he heard from one of his friends that I had things written about him and her in the diary of mine. The two guys who said that to him, I'm not going to say their names again. One of the guys I don't even know. I knew his face when I see it, though. In my opinion, when those two learned that I have a diary, and hour earlier they apparently went into the locker room and told him that because, to me, I guess they wanted to wanted him to get mad at me, to see him fight me, and for me to get hurt just because they thought I was weird and other things. And I guess they thought it would be something I deserved because they didn't like me themselves, even though they'll talk to me like I'm genuine. Talk to me. Ugh. People, the way they act. And so this guy texted me and told me to pull up to the school parking lot so he could beat my, rear end in the ground. I just told him, no, I'm good. 5 minutes later, he tried FaceTime me and I answered, and he said to me how much he was tired of this and me, and how he was going to beat me up. I did my best to ignore him because he wanted to beat me up over he said I heard situation, and there was no proof that I had written down anything. I just felt like he was being a hothead, at the time. At that point, he said he didn't give a if I actually do have autism, that he was tired of me, and she was too. I just felt like the whole world was against me at that point, and that the only one who was for me was God. I just kept reminding myself that if he does do anything to me, to just let him hit me, because the only man I'm afraid of is Jesus. And that's true. That's the only man you should ever be afraid of, is Jesus Christ. took all that pain on that cross for me, and he was whipped and beat, spit on, kicked around. If Jesus took that much pain for me, then I feel like I could take the pain of getting beat up, that would, over this situation, that would only be about 1 to 10 tenth of the pain. 1 out of 10 tenth of the pain Jesus took. Besides, if he had he could have been charged with assault and would have gotten himself into trouble. He may put me in the hospital, but he would have been brought to court. Therefore, so I was willing to let him hit me and do that he wanted to do. It may sound stupid because it could be life-threatening to me, but that is what I was truly willing to do. Still am, because now I'm an adult, 18, going on 19 really now. And I can be charged if I hit back. I left the recreation hours later, and I had noticed that I had left my hat at the skating park, so I went back there and I got it. I got back in the car, and he messaged me again, and he said to me, I see you. Why you running? Are you scared? B word. I was thinking to myself at that point, what kind of kid is she dating? I got back home and texted him and said, you're not going to do anything, and even if you do, it's only going to be bad for you. I did ask him when he first texted me at the wreck, why did you just block me? Why didn't he? replied, because I knew you were still on that same SHI. I didn't know exactly what he meant by that. It started sounding like to me he was saying on drugs or something. I knew though, like I was on drugs or something. Like I was still on that same crap. I'm on. What are you saying? I'm on drugs or something? Like same crap? What same crap? What do you mean? That's just what that was what I was trying to figure out. I don't know. I knew though that apparently during the night my brother, my brother and another guy and this guy all had a group chat conversation, and he told me the next morning that this guy he won't do anything if I give up my diary and I forget about her. Or else he was going to beat the piss out of me. I just told my brother that he is just going to have to do something to me because I'm not doing either. It's just what I said. It's the only thing I knew to say. He, my brother judged my decision and called me names for it, but I decided not to care about that. We got to the school and I sat down on the bleachers, whereas a couple of familiar people who respected me were. I looked down just a couple of rows from me on the side, and I saw her and our good friend and her boyfriend sitting down together. I tried not to pay attention to him, and I just kept hoping that their relationship, I don't know. I hope for the best of it. Not, just obviously me loving her, I was hoping that it wouldn't exactly last, but that was out of my control. That was out of my control. I could not help but look at her, though. My main plan going into the abbreviated day, though, was playing TWD Season 11 Part 1 trailer in my earbuds, because that was the timeline we were on, going into. It just made sense and felt completely right, too, I knew that the next day officially started Season 11 timeline, specifically the first episode. When I got into school that day, I immediately noticed some of the parallel between the first scenes and the first couple of periods. To try and explain this parallel connection a little more understandable, maybe it's like to explain it a little more understandable, it's like how a lot of Christians, people, including myself, and churches are saying that the Book of Revelations is parallel with the times we are in now, with everything it describes happening. The birth pains of Christ's season of coming, return, like the end times they call it. We call it. They say that the events in the Book of Revelations is parallel with what's going on in the world right now, what it describes. That's what I mean when I say the series timeline is parallel with us. The scenes and events are running parallel with our grade group level in the school, and possibly outside, more or less outside too, really. Haven't completely came to a confirmation on that. That's what I wrote when I wrote this down. Now I nearly came to a confirmation, more of one anyway. Back to the start of this, and I say this current year in school. Today writing is, I put the date on here, 3/1 this year. But anyway, we are currently in season 11, episode 19 of the timeline. Although I knew in the future, whoever is reading this right now, or myself, or whoever I'm reading it to, we probably are way past this point, and we are. Well, shouldn't, at least, yeah, technically we are. Technically. Anyway, you see the first episode of season 11 episode start with Daryl, Carol, and Maggie, and a few other of the new characters that came in right after Rick left in season 9 are there too, and they are on a rooftop, and it looked like and their little mission there is to get food and supplies for Alexandria after the Whispers War devastation. I know that at the same time I went into the theater room with our theater teacher, small class, and we had a little task to do that took a couple of days really to do. Yeah. Now I'm near the end of this whole thing until I add more to it, but anyway, a couple days to finish. Daryl ended up getting cut on his arm as he was pulling up the boxes of what they needed. I, on the other hand, ended up getting a splinter in my hand, and it was aggravating. It took until between homeroom and third period for me to remove it. That parallel with Daryl getting hurt and healing up once they got back to Alexandria, just as much as the Council of Alexandria had an assembly meeting for the supply problem and rebuilding what had gotten destroyed in Alexandria. At the same time, what paralleled with us was that my whole grade level being called into the auditorium, and everyone listening to what they expected this year, and some things to know and be aware of. Me personally, there is a reason I'm excited for this year. That is because I know how it is supposed to end, and it involves both Rick and Michonne at the end of the last episode. I believe that I am going to be able to return to Miriam Rhymes again, and she will be returning to Michonne. That's what's so exciting for me, and I will eventually be, for her when she comes to understand me. Comes to understand me, and when we are currently in episode 19, when I was writing this timeline, 3 months of school left and 5 episode timelines to get through. Let's, I said let's go out of some type of excitement. I say let's get done and get to this series final, because I've been waiting a long time for this, basically. As of right now, we are in the episode timeline titled Variant, which means different variants of walkers, though I would prefer to continue exploring what I already knew or know and has paralleled with the season. For one, in episode 2 timeline, just as much as Daryl, Maggie, Negan, Gabriel, and some of the others get ambushed and attacked by the group of the Reapers, which is in August. In the middle, towards the end of the month, my classes hit me a bunch of kids hard in it. My tests, the tests hit us hard. They didn't hit me. I didn't get no fight or nothing, but in it, my tests and classes assignments were getting, unpredictable, uncontrollable, I should say. And out of as I know that when I failed, give me 1 second, guys. Well, when I failed a unit test in math, and then another classes test that day, paralleled with Daryl being interrogated and nearly smothered to death by some reapers. One of the people who got revealed to Daryl was a woman named Leah. She is a person who Daryl met in the woods a couple of years prior, and after the disappearance of Rick, what paralleled with me was meeting a girl named, I'm not going to name her name, I met her out of the high school. By the way, that's more evidence that this connection does stretch outside of campus. Anyway, I met her, and at first she didn't, trust me. She thought I was weird and you can go and predict what it's gonna say. Weird and creepy. I got to talking to her though, and she changed her opinion on almost a week after. It wasn't long after that she ended up falling in love with me. That parallels with Leah falling in love and developing feelings for Daryl. And at that same time in the timeline, after a couple of weeks, and me and her stopped talking though, just like Daryl went back out trying to find Rick's body on the riverbank, bed. Then in season 11, episode 3, Daryl, running out of time here, Daryl sees Leah again. She is with this group, the Reapers. This is season 11, part 1 timeline, by the way. She started talking to me again. She was not happy that we stopped talking for a while there, and that was because I wanted to keep my loyal guard up for her, the other girl. That's been y'all knew what I'm talking about. And to focus on the timeline, I was having tremendous problems with my grades and some of the people around me, and it all mirrored that arc, the Reapers leaders Pope, arc. However, just as Daryl ended up joining the group and learning more about them, my grades and the social problems around me started calming down and becoming cool again. Adapted to it. Other people in my classes started getting the hang on everything. I knew one thing though. This season started the final arc for Alexandrian Hilltop in the main series. So I'm running out of time here. I try to stop at 38, 39 because I know this system is picky with the storage and all that. It's we basically, this is the page we've stopped at right here at the top. I don't know how well y'all can see it on the screen. It would technically 58. Well, 58. 85, but minus 1, 84 because the numbers are off on this from when I was writing this. But anyway, I need to number papers before I write them. Technically I could continue and read the rest of this, but I need to save my breath. My vocal cords are at this point a little worn out, but it's either going to be the next video or the video after that. I'm going to be done talking about this for the moment. I'm going to make one more video talking about this year, but that'll probably be at the end of the year. But anyway, thank you for listening again, guys, and I'll see you in the next part.